Hey everyone, welcome to As the World Churns. I am Andy Levy here as always with Danielle Moodie. And today we are talking about what Donald Trump calls a big, beautiful bill, what I am calling an ugly fucking bill. The House stayed up all night to fuck us, basically, and passed a bill that delivers tax cuts for the wealthy and benefits cuts for the rest of us. The bill has very, very strict work requirements for Medicaid, which is going to affect millions of people and not the people that Republicans claim it will. And it's an absolute disaster. The only good news is it still has to pass the Senate, and so fingers crossed there's a chance it won't pass there, but it passed the House with every Democrat voting against it, those who are still living anyway. So Danielle, yeah, where do we go from here with this awfulness?
So the big beautiful piece of shit that Donald Trump has offered up to America is, funny enough, all of the things that he said that he would do.
Yeah.
So for people that are shocked that Medicaid was going to be on the table, I'm old enough to remember when Joe Biden stood before a joint session of Congress and said Republicans are going to cut Medicaid. Republicans are going to cut Social Security. And all of the Republicans, right, were screaming, no, liar, X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. And then fast forward, where are we? In a space where you're requiring people who already are facing difficulties, who require government assistance, now have to work because the whole idea with Republicans is that if you are poor or working class, somehow you're just trying to get over on the government. So we need to set up disciplinary actions and punishment in order to ensure that you're not getting over. But the people who are actually fucking getting over on the government are the ones that they are giving tax breaks to, the ones that don't need those tax breaks, the ones that if they pay just a little bit more, then hundreds of millions of people could live in, I don't know, good standing, like not worry about making decisions between prescription drugs and eggs, not worry about paying for their kids' school and childcare and all of these things. But we live in a greedy, disgusting, capitalist driven country where Republicans are enshrining oligarchy with this bill. That's what it looks like to me, right? Is that when you are extending tax cuts to the top 1% and then extolling out pain for the majority of Americans, you are encapsulating oligarchy and protecting it and helping it expand. And that is nothing that Mike Johnson should be smiling into the faces of cameras with. He is the weakest and
Yeah.
poorest example of a Speaker of the House that I think that we have ever seen gets this bill over with one vote, and Donald Trump is typing in all caps about how amazing it is that it passed. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely the weakest Speaker of the House we've seen since the last guy.
It's been
But
so long since him, you
I
know?
know, I
And I
know.
actually long for the days of McCarthy. Is that not insane?
I know. You miss his limp gavel, don't you,
I
Danielle?
do I do.
I said when I started that these Medicaid cuts are gonna hurt not the people that they are telling you they're gonna hurt, but a different group of people. I want to expand on that a little bit. We've seen a lot. Media Matters did a really good piece on this. The Republican claim here is that, oh, we are stopping able-bodied men from collecting Medicaid. You had shills like Jesse Waters saying, "Oh, if you're 28 years old and healthy, you don't even want to work. You just collect Medicaid," which of course is, one of those things that's absolutely not true. It really echoes the Reagan-esque
Mhm.
the Reagan-esque welfare queen rhetoric from back in the 80s for those of us olds who remember that. But it's not just Fox News, it's a lot of the right-wing stuff out there has been talking about, they keep saying, able-bodied people, and they make it sound like it's people who simply don't wanna work and just wanna collect Medicaid. Here's a couple of facts, that Media Matters pulled together.
Mhm.
92% of people on Medicaid, are either working or have a disability or are doing things that exempt them from meeting work requirements. And I want to get into that because most of the able bodied, non working Medicare recipients, 79% of them are women who live in rural areas who are caring for elderly parents or adult children, and they have maybe recently left the workforce because they have to be a caregiver. These are the people that this bill is screwing over. It's not some 28-year-old dude who just wants to play video games all day. This is the classic Republican rhetoric of trying to, first of all, shame people
Mhm.
who are depending on Medicaid because they are, in fact, a caregiver for a relative. They are helping out, whether it's, again, an elderly parent or whether it's an adult child that has problems. So it's just it makes me so angry when people like Jesse Waters, who, let's be honest, hasn't worked an honest day in his life and is basically the recipient of conservative welfare, as most people these days on Fox News
Mm.
are.
Mhm.
Um, when they sit there and say shit like this, and they do not know what they're talking about, and they don't care that they don't know what they're talking about, but for someone like him, some comfortable, privileged asshole like him, sorry for the language, sits there and talks about this, and the people that are being harmed by this are people who are just out there trying their best, trying to take care of a sick parent or trying to take care of a disabled child, and it's so disgusting, but that's who these people are, and we know that, Danielle.
You say those statistics and it conjures images, right? It conjures images of people who are living, like you said, in rural America. Those are the people who don Trump hats, who went to his rallies, who applaud the
I
deportations,
know.
who applaud
I know.
the book bans, who applaud the cruelty and the harm. And here it comes back to them. And I said this the other day. I said, I don't know if any of those people, even given this bill that will ultimately cost, first of all, cost the American people more money, right? But that they will regret their vote. And I don't know if I'm seeking regret or just like the I told you so at this point, but it's just like I don't know how much collective pain is necessary for people to realize who the Republican fascist party is. And I think that this bill, if it passes the Senate, will destroy families, will destroy lives. Like lives will be lost because of this bill,
Yeah.
right? Jobs will be lost because of this bill, because not only that, and on later on an interview that I did, the rollback in clean energy protections is going to cost this country almost a million jobs, right? Almost a million jobs on top of America's standing in the world as as an innovator, as a change maker, leaving room for countries like China. So it's just like you take all of these things into consideration, and I mean, I don't believe that we will have midterms or elections again that actually are free and fair. But even if we do, I still feel that the people who are harmed by this will still think that, like, Donald Trump is fighting for them. I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe, when we look more like Russia than we do America in the coming year, maybe that will wake them up. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, and I wanna point out one group that does know that Donald Trump is not fighting for them, and that's transgender people, and I wanna point out something that this bill does, and a lot of people were talking about this online. The original bill had a provision in it that would ban Medicaid funds from being used for the care of minors in terms of transgender healthcare. In the middle of the night, they went ahead and dropped the language that had to do with minors. And the bill now bans care for transgender people, period, who are on Medicaid, and also prohibits people who get their health care from the healthcare exchange, Obamacare, the Affordable
Mhm.
Care Act. It bans those insurance policies from covering transgender care. And again, you talked about people dying, and here's just another example of that. And again, they sneak in this language because they pretend it's about the quote unquote kids when we all know it's not. It's not about the kids, it's not about sports. It's just that they do not like transgender people. And so again, we have to hope that this doesn't pass the Senate because this is going to be absolutely god awful for trans
Mhm.
folks
Mhm.
if this becomes the law of the land.
There is nothing big or beautiful about this. It's just bullshit.
Nope. Yep.